Hey, people, it's Bryony from the Somatherapy Collective. I've just stepped out of a session and I wanted to have just a brief share in and around this compassion piece and holding rage and the reality, meeting the reality of the world right now, the global climate right now. As a therapist and as a spiritual practitioner for about 25 years, this has been really tricky in what I've seen and what I've been witnessing with the Palestinians and other genocides across the world right now. Is that where do we fit? And particularly as my background as an energy healer and therapist, where do I fit in this compassion piece? Where do I meet where like others who have different opinions or different experiences, where do I meet them in the clinic room or in life in general and even in my private life? Yeah. And what I've come to learn, because I am a glass half full person, where others see impossibility and breaking and victim and I can't get up and that is impossible. You cannot get through that. I always see opportunity and possibility. I am a burn me to the ground and I will rise like a phoenix. I rupture, I repair really well. I bend like the trees and if I break, I just rebuild that shit and this is just who I am and I've been like this my whole life. When it comes to the global crisis right now, the world right now, meeting the world where it's at, there's been so much deep reflection in me where I hold the compassion piece. Because, yes, there's people who agree that, I'm meeting the times as they are, the genocide, and calling it for what it is. And then there's those people who are sitting on the fence, the neutral ass bitches sitting on the fence. And then there's those people who kind of skirt around and dance around still being inclusive. Um, it's a little bit nuanced. So I'm kind of like fumbling with my words at the moment. But I want to be, I've sat in reflection and thinking about where this inclusivity is, where I make space for that, where my privilege is, where my own, internal supremacy and racism that's been indoctrinated into me because I am white. That's part of my makeup, part of who I am, part of my familial story is this unconscious bias. So I want to own that as well. And particularly in light of, the protest that's happening in Australia tomorrow, this divisive and fear mongering space in and around, kind of trying to divide people. Yeah. And what I'm speaking to is those people that are pulling the strings, is those people, the leaders in the world, the oligarchs, the people who are running the empires, and on top of these hierarchical, colonialist, patriarchal systems of oppression and violence. I'm speaking about those people. And this is where my rage and things and how I've been reflecting. I don't have time for neutral ass bitches. I don't have time. That's gone for me. That went when my marriage dissolved and there was fence sitters and everything in and around that. No, fence sitting for me is, and I have been a fence sitter, is oppression. If you're fence sitting, you are with the perpetrator. That's number one. Do I have compassion? Well, I don't understand. I understand, sorry, I understand why, but I don't think we're in a meeting the times right now globally. I don't think there's any space for fence sitting anymore. You got to pick a side, yeah? In relation to this kind of compassion piece of being really holding space for those that are racist, for those that are coming from a space of fear. And it really is an individual kind of take each individual as it comes, because I know there's so many things layered into and woven into the fabric of the story of one person. So I'm taking it, for me, one person at a time, one group at a time, and reflecting and listening and opening. And I've come to realize that I am not for everybody, that my therapy space, that my work is not for everybody, that my views are not for everybody, and that my compassion, while it's there for the globally, it's aligned with life and inclusivity and dismantling hierarchical, patriarchal, colonized systems of oppression and violence. It sits with victims, it sits with those that are suffering under genocide, the earth with ecocide, the women with femicide, and the children, the scholarcide, the threat of education, and all the polycrisis that were underneath. And my compassion, I am not, and I maybe, you're going to disagree with this, I am not going to hold space for racists. I am not going to hold space for people who are completely aligned with their own white privilege and white supremacy. I'm not going to hold space for those people. I'm not going to hold space for people who are invested in protecting their own life and the privileges of their own life, which is majority is white, heteronormative people, at the cost of the destruction of the earth, the destruction of Indigenous people, the destruction and division of community, the annihilation of belonging, the colonization of countries. No, I'm not going to. I'm not going to. Does that make me a bad therapist? Maybe you might see that. I don't. I see it at this time in meeting the global, the global, the state of the globe as being discerning and having boundaries. And I don't need to water down, move, and be an all encompassing, accepting container of everything. I don't need to be. I don't need to be holding space for every mofo there is in the world with every differing points of view and how they're moving and the behaviors that they're displaying. In the end, we're at a time right now in the world where if you don't get your values and you're not grounded into a sense of life fulfilling and protecting ways of living and being in community, then I don't want you in my space. It's discernment. This is where the rage fits in. This is where we can have community and not always agree. This is where we can actually walk away from connections and people that we thought was part of our community and go, yeah, nah, not for me. We have to stop holding on to this idealized way of living and being and watering down and being in this kind of love light, all encompassing compassion. We've got to love everybody's space. We don't have to love everybody. We do not have to love everybody. We have to love ourselves. We have to protect what is vulnerable within ourselves and within our community. And that vulnerability is the ones who are oppressed and violated, not the oppressors and the people who are being violated. And yes, I understand there's fear and people pull on the strings, the puppet masters pull on the strings of fear, and it's divisive. And of course, I feel for those caught in that. And I feel for those that are stuck in that cycle of being brainwashed. I get it. And I'm always open. The door is always open for those people to come and work with me or to be in my space or to learn from me. But I am not going to sit in a space with these people. I'm not going to create a dynamic where I have to sit and justify who I am, my actions, where I'm coming from, how I'm feeling, and theirs. I'm not in the business of changing anyone's mind. I'm not in the business of controlling, and I'm not in the business of giving compassion to people who are choosing for white supremacy, um, white privilege, and being quite divisive in our communities.